Welcome to the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast, built for real estate professionals that want to work less, earn more, and make an impact in their community. For information on how you can become part of the estate professionals community, visit probatemastery.com. So welcome everybody. This is the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast. Check it out on YouTube at Probate Mastery or on your podcast platforms at the Estate Professionals Mastermind podcast. We've had a couple of really good weeks. As a matter of fact, I'd say our discussions last week and the week before were some of our best discussions that we've had. From the standpoint of great questions, great interaction. We got some role play done, some fun scenarios to talk about. Let's see if we can keep that going. And hopefully I didn't just jinx the call. If anyone does have questions on kind of building your probate business, having conversations with attorneys or representatives, or maybe you find yourself in a deal that you're kind of curious about how to work through, I want you guys to raise your hand, and that's what we're here for. We're here to kind of give you some coaching. There's several of us on here that have probably have experience with exactly what you are dealing with. While we're waiting on some other folks to get in, let me just kind of start by offering you a little bit of encouragement that this process that we teach and this process that we implement in our own business, it does work. I'm going to give you guys some examples, and I just got a note here from Ann that my voice is choppy. Is my voice choppy for anybody else? Or is it Ann's internet? Okay, Ann, it's your internet. All right.
Sounds good.
So, some examples on how the process works are this. So in my business, I'm really careful not to tell you all that you have to run a business like this, because the way that I run my business is the lazy agent's business. I'm consistently looking for ways to take myself out of my own process. So I spend money to replace the time that I spend in my business. So in my business, I buy leads. I scrub leads and build a call list. I give my ISA team that call list. I send cold mail out to the people that have not engaged on the phone. So some people send cold mail ahead of phone calls. Some people cold mail without calling at all. Some people call without cold mailing. All of those are relevant ways to run a direct to personal representative probate business. They're all just fine if you're going directly to the personal representative. For me, I call for a month with ISAs ahead of any cold mail, and I only mail people that have just completely been unengaged at all at any level during that month of calling. And then we'll do some cold mailers. And the approach that we use when we call people in the probate process is we offer some guidance and support and resources that help with different stages of probate. Okay, so I'm trying to send them material that legitimately helps with estate administration. I'm not trying to take the place of their attorney. I'm really clear with them that we don't want to take their attorney's place, that our support picks up in areas where the attorney might not be working in their process. So for example, an example is the attorney going to go clean the house out if it's full of junk? Probably not. Is the attorney going to cut their grass and clean their gutters? Probably not. Is the attorney going to change their locks? Probably not. Okay, so we're kind of careful that we operate in the arena that helps with other aspects of estate administration. And of course, we've also been through probate, so we can offer some general guidance and advice on things like running your notice to creditors and items like that. So on the phone, we're offering to get them resources and a package of information on getting through probate. We've been doing this in my market now for 4-ish months. And for those that are new here, you're like, why is this guy talking about building a probate business when he's only been doing it for 4 months? No, it's not what I'm saying. I've been doing this specific process for 4 months. And this last week is the first week that we've had meaningful inbound engagement. We've had a lot of meaningful outbound engagement, but this last week we had significant meaningful inbound engagement, which tells me that in my market, it takes a personal representative 4 months with my packages in hand before they're ready to start having significant conversations with me that are voluntary. Up until that point, it's sort of involuntary. I'm pursuing them, and I've had plenty of appointments during those 4 months as well. But suddenly, it's starting to turn over into inbound. And that's because I'm putting really good quality value in their hands. I'm not saying, hey, let me send you some resources and then sending them a letter and a brochure that says, I'm the best realtor in probate. You need to list your house with me. I'm giving them things that they can actually use to help through probate. Okay, and that's what I want you guys to do as well. And I think it's important to note that at least in my market right now, and it could be a little different in your market, it's taking about 4 months before they're wanting to call me and saying, "Hey, I've been looking at this. I've had the space to go through the packages that you've sent, and I want to talk. I want help." And those that we've had some engagements with in the last week all have real estate, but they're not necessarily calling to say, I'm selling the house right now. They're calling to say, hey, I've got to do this, and your package said that you could help me do it. I need to find someone to do an estate sale. I need to find someone to clean the property out. Your package said that I needed to secure the property. How do I do that? Can you coordinate it for me? And then, of course, we're turning it into real estate discussions. So I want you guys to know that it does work, especially if you can give people value. If you can provide value beyond the I want to sell your house, beyond the let me put my realtor hat on and talk to you about how I can make a commission. Okay. So if anyone has any questions around kind of this process or your process, I want you guys to go ahead and raise your hand. Just drop down to the bottom of your screen and click the react button and pop your hand up. Kristen, I will go to you.
For your ISA teams, how do I get connected with them? Because I believe you offer that, not necessarily as an upsell, but
Yep. So I'm going to put soon a little training in. I've recorded it a handful of times, and it's just not quite where I like it. A little training in on how I would go about hiring and training an ISA. My ISA teams, as they are right now, are partner. It's essentially kind of, if you're going to use the ISA, you're going to use the whole program, and I'm going to partner with you in your market. So if you want to potentially partner with me in your market, then you would go on the Probate Mastery homepage. About halfway down where it talks about coaching, book a discovery call. There's a button that says book a discovery call, and talk to one of our success managers. In partnership, we actually put a success manager in everyone's market, and the success manager is a peer real estate agent who helps nurture and work your leads with you.
Perfect.
So those success managers are the ones that do the discovery call and kind of run you through the partnership version. Now, anyone that is not a partner, I'll be putting in a class on how to hire an ISA. I think it's important that we have people that can cover the bases if we're not able to get to them. And one base that absolutely must be covered if you're direct to the personal representative is the calls. Has to be covered. Now, I'm not saying that you have to run a direct to the personal representative business. You could run a referral-based business where you're going to vendors and attorneys. And if you're doing that, that's different. That's where our Earn course might pick up. But if you're going to the representative, calls are vital. And most of us agents and investors aren't very good at time blocking and aren't very good at being consistent and making the calls and generating those conversations. So you got to hire someone if you're not going to do it yourself. All right, cool. Anything else, Kristen? You good?
No, right now I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? I am going to tease something that's coming in the next week and a half. I'm notorious for teasing things and saying this is coming up soon, and then it not come up for weeks and weeks and weeks. I've been given a deadline, and I've done my part of that deadline to where in about a week and a half, so it probably won't be ready by this call next week, but the week after, we should have a cash offer program up and available for you guys to be able to plug into your markets and your business. If you're an investor, I'm going to give you the benefit of this second, but for agents, I want to talk to you guys first. One of the things that I teach agents to do when you're prospecting is you find out that someone might sell, maybe. You might sell, or they might sell, or even they say, I am going to sell. And one of the first things that we do with a license is we go, hey, can I come show you my listing plan? Let me ask you guys, you want to sell a house. What do you want? Do you want an intermediary plugging into the middle and taking a piece of your profit? Do you want that? And I'm not saying that I'm not trashing realtors. I am a realtor. I've been one for 20 years. I'm a broker. I've been a team leader. I want to list houses. Consumers don't want to list a house. They want to get the best price for their house. That's what they want. And we need to recognize what consumers want and be able to offer them something that's actually attractive. Now, a lot of consumers that want top dollar for a house, they may recognize that if I want top dollar for the house, I need to work through the process of listing a house. They might recognize that, but they would quickly cut us out of the deal as agents. They would quickly cut us out of the deal if they felt like that there was a better way or a different way of getting the price they want without having to go through a listing process. So when we're talking to people that say we're probably going to sell, and I'm getting another message about breaking up. Am I breaking up? No? Okay, Kristen, it's you, right? Yeah. So apparently a bunch of people have some internet issues today. Sorry about that, guys. I always want to make sure it's not me, because it could be. When I talk to people that do indicate that there's a sale coming, I never say, hey, can I run over my listing plan with you? Could I come talk about listing the house? I don't immediately go there. I need to open that conversation up by asking them if I could provide something that they want. And what do they want? Thinking about selling a house, what do they want? Money. Yeah, they want a buyer. They want a buyer. And maybe, probably, to get the buyer at the price that they want, they probably will need to go through the listing process. Okay. But the first thing is I need them to commit that I can potentially provide the thing that they want. Again, that's the buyer, that's the money. Okay. I may be able to provide that through a listing. I might bring one of my investors. I might make an offer myself. I don't know. But I don't talk to them immediately about offering a listing presentation. I find out if I was going to bring, or if you end up selling in the future, is it okay if I bring you an offer? So if you end up selling, is it okay if I brought you an offer? Who on earth would say no to that?
I ask
Who
you a
would,
question about that?
yeah, go for it, Ann.
Um, do you actually ask who's the owner? Do you get them to define who is on the deed that would have to sign the listing agreement
Sure,
or
sure. Yeah.
authorize the spending of money if you're going to be bringing people in from the outside to get work done?
Yes. Probably not at this stage of a conversation. At this stage of the conversation, I want them to show their hand. Once they've shown me their hand of, hey, we might sell, we might need this, we might need that, that's when I'm going to start digging into, do you guys have a copy of the will? Who are the other heirs? What's the will say? If there's not a will, then I know that other people are going to need to sign anything that happens. If there is a will, it's probably the executor that'll be the only signer. Again, don't say Bruce said only the executor signs if there's a will. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's more likely that it's just the executor signing on everybody else's behalf if there's a will. But I really don't get into that stuff until I've gotten them to reveal their intentions. Once they reveal their intentions, that's when I'm going to start delicately finding out who else is involved, what they think, whether they're going to need to sign, what gaps they have in their process, and then I'll advise accordingly. Okay. So the offer, when you deal with someone that's going to sell an inherited house, the first thing that I want you guys saying is, hey, if you sell, and a lot of times their answer is, we don't know if we're going to sell yet, it's too early. Maybe true, maybe not, but it doesn't matter. That's an answer that they give you a lot. And if they say it's too early, you haven't decided yet, I completely understand. I imagine you're pretty covered up with other things right now, and they'll say yes. And then I go, I know you're not going to decide right now, but if at some point later in the process you did decide to sell, do you think I could bring you an offer? Nobody ever says no to that question when phrased that way. Nobody. Now, agents, this is where my real estate agents panic, and this is where my investors are like, yes, I love that question. That's the one I should ask. But my agents panic because you're like, what if I don't want to make an offer? I didn't say, is it okay if I make you an offer? I said, is it okay if I bring you an offer? How do I do that? Maybe through listing, maybe through one of my buyers. So that leads me to the informal announcement that in the next couple of weeks, we're rolling out a program. We've put together a few dozen nationwide investors, and we're rolling out a program where you as agents can go into a platform. This is going to be for an extra fee. I haven't settled in on it yet. It costs a good chunk of money to plug this into our system. But a fee, you can go in and put all your addresses in. You can use it for prospecting. You can use it for marketing. You can use it in your conversations. You can mail out, hey, I have cash offer for your property. You can plug it in and get anywhere from 4 to 12 offers on your prospects, on your leads, on your listings. And they're good offers. They're institutional investors that are, if the house is in good shape, are generally paying 85-90% of market value. And I think most of us would agree that 90% of market value is a good offer from an investor. Okay. Of course, there's other investors that are fix and flippers in there and might be 70 cents or 65 cents or 50 cents on the dollar as well. But a lot of these are institutional kind of big money investors that can do that. So that's coming in the next couple of weeks. We'll have that up and running, and you guys can join and start putting your deals in. I don't know the price that it's going to be yet. I haven't even completely ironed out how much it's costing me to plug that into the system yet, but we're getting close. Partners that we're partnered with in your market, I am just providing that for free. You guys are paying enough, so that's coming into the partnership program as well. But it's going to be available for anybody. And that's probably the biggest thing that I want you guys doing is not necessarily having to use a platform like this, but when you communicate with people and you find out that real estate is a possibility of selling, don't say, can I talk to you about listing the house? If you sold, do you think I could bring you an offer? People will always agree to that. Always. And then you can start finding out how you're going to bring them an offer. So my next questions, when they say, yeah, if we do sell, you can bring an offer, I would say something like, is the house in pretty good shape, or do you think it needs some work? It's in good shape. Okay, if you sold, are you going to be trying to maximize the value, or do you think you just want to get it off of your hands? Okay, so now I'm kind of qualifying what is going on, and I know what kind of presentation I might give when I finally get to the house.
And do you go and take a look at the house at some point?
Frequently, in this approach, I go before I'm really there for an official appointment. So the way that I may do that in conversation is they tell me, we're not really sure if we're going to sell, but if we do sell, you can bring an offer. So they'll say that. And then I go, I know it's not going to be for a little while, so why don't I do this? Since I'm already sending you resources, so that's what I offer. Since I'm already sending you resources, let me put a little ballpark estimate of what that might look like into the package. That way you guys have something that you can discuss. Does that work for you? And they say yes. They say yes. I can promise you they say yes if you use the right language. And then I would go, listen, it's just going to be a rough estimate because I haven't seen the house. Listen, I don't imagine you're going to be around sometime in the next week or two. Maybe I could stop by, see the place for 10 minutes. Will you? They say yes or no. I mean, if they say no, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. I'll probably lose 50, 60% of my leads right there at that point. They're not gone. They're just not quite ready for a visitor yet. But I've now picked up a 40 probably percent appointment rate with someone that previously told me they don't need help and they don't know what they're going to do with the house yet. I think getting into 40% of those houses is a really phenomenal ratio when they led with some resistance to begin with. All right, so I'll go see the house, and normally I'm honoring that 10, 15-minute kind of commitment. And if they open up and we have a long, friendly, warm conversation, great. If not, I'm kind of in and out. I've put a face with a name. I'm not there to pitch. I'm there to deepen the relationship and build some rapport. Of course, once I've met them face to face and I've seen the house, it's pretty unlikely that they're going to ghost me at that point. It's easy to ghost someone that you've never seen their face. It's harder to ghost someone that that you've met, you've shaken their hand, they've seen the house. All right.
Question.
So, mhm.
What about photographs? When you go to see the house, do you ask them if you can take a few pictures so that you'll be able to give them an idea when they're ready? Or what do you do about that?
I go ahead and give the idea pretty quickly without necessarily needing photos. I do photos or video of a house very frequently, but normally that's in my listing. So in my listing appointment.
Sorry, what I really meant is I'm working with a number of investors.
Mhm.
And so for this one house that I was presenting to them, I did go and take some pictures, even though it was really rough and there was stuff all over the place, because I wanted to get a number that would at least be somewhat interesting to the owners. So this way I'm asking you, she was a little offended when she found me taking pictures, and I promised her they wouldn't go online. So this is why I'm asking you.
Yeah, I would not jump to take pictures or anything in a preliminary walkthrough. So we gotta, if you're using the approach that I described above, they are really not expecting any sort of presentation. They're not expecting you to shop their house. They're not expecting this to be anything more than a face with a name and you to get a general idea of what estimate to give them. So I'm not going to push into photos. Now, I will certainly try to pry that relationship over while I'm face to face, or pry that relationship open. And if it gets to the place where I can take photos, great. I did one of these and I told the guy, I was like, hey, I have no idea when you guys are going to talk about this or be ready to sell. If you do, one of the things that I often do is I'll bring an offer. I'll either make an offer or one of my buyers that I work with will make an offer. Do you mind if I took a few photos so that I just have those ready when you're ready? And he said, no. No problem. I mean, I'm certainly not here to try to convince someone that I have to take photos. I'm basically there to test boundaries. And that's all we're doing on any prospecting relationship, is we're exploring boundaries that people have. And some people have a definitive hardcore boundary around photos. You are here for 10 minutes so that you can see the house. That's it. Other people want to talk. Other people say, you know what, we're probably going to sell faster. I'm there to explore and see where their boundaries are. Okay, so that's what we're doing. I would not do photos in a situation like yours unless I said, hey, when you're ready, I will probably either personally bring you an offer, or one of my buyers that I'm working with might bring you an offer. Would it be okay if I took a few photos so that when you're ready, we're ready? And if they say no, they say no. And if they say yes, at least they've got an understanding as to why you're taking photos of their house.
Yeah. In this case, I had asked her if I could take another look because I had some questions and I wanted to be able to explain to potential buyers
Mm-hmm.
what the answer to those questions. And so it worked out okay, but I didn't mean to offend her. That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah. Now I do. So that's a strategic approach that I take when I'm in a more formal appointment or presentation. What you just described and what I'm describing isn't very formal, and you're not normally not going to be taking photos. But when I have a formal um, visit and they know that they're looking to create some kind of a plan around selling, they're either looking for an offer now or looking to discuss listing now. I'll go into a house and I'll meet and greet them, and then I'll say, "Who wants to show me around?" And someone steps up to show me the house. And then around 30 seconds into the tour, I go, "Oh, hey, before I forget, is it okay with you if I take a few photos of some important features so that I don't forget when I put the listing in later or when I work the offer up later?" Something like that. And it's really funny how many people will right then on the spot agree that you're their agent. Okay, is it okay with you? Or if I take a few photos of any important features so that I don't forget when I put the listing in later? And that's if you're on a listing appointment. And I've had people that kind of stopped and they paused for a couple of heartbeats and went, "Yeah, that's fine." And I knew right then that I had the agreement later because they kind of made a snap decision that we're going to work with you. I've also had people that go, "Oh, we haven't committed to listing with you yet." Great. What am I doing? I am exploring to see where the boundaries are. Is it okay with you if I take a few photos that I of important features that I can use when I put the listing in later? And they go, "Oh, we haven't said we were going to list with you." I now know where that boundary is, and that's all I want to know. I don't ever want to be guessing where somebody's boundaries are. I have no earthly idea. So I'm just kind of dropping little questions like this in to figure out where it is. And another gentleman that I was in a walkthrough with, we were walking through his house, and I said, "When I get the house on the market, do you want me to put a sign on the street and on the golf course behind the house, or do you want me to just put a sign on the street?" Well, I already know the answer. If I'm listing a house and it's on a golf course, there's a sign going on the golf course up against the course as well. I wasn't asking because I wanted to know where he wanted me to put the signs. I was asking so that I could judge how where that boundary was. And he went, "I guess you're going to put a sign in both spots." And he paused because he was making a decision right then whether he was going to work with me. No presentation needed later. No presentation. Now, if he'd gone, I'm interviewing several people. I don't even know if I'm going to list with you. Now I know. Now I know. And that's all I need to know is I need to know where the boundary is. Okay. So, and use that little photo trick, but I probably wouldn't use it until the relationship's a little bit more progressed and they're actually looking for an offer or a plan.
Yeah, I like your approach. In this case, it was a referral from a neighbor, and I got to know her better, but
Hmm.
I would have liked to be a little more delicate about it. So I'm going to use your suggestion.
Cool. Awesome. Hey guys, I'm butting in here with a quick ask. If you're getting value out of this coaching today, I want to invite you to check out my Probate Mastery trainings over at www.probatemastery.com. Probate Mastery is for you if you're an agent or an investor that wants to work with motivated sellers that have inherited real estate that they don't need and in many cases can't afford. These sellers are more appreciative, willing to trust your expertise, and less likely to nickel and dime you over commission or price. Why is that? They're often in the middle of a complex probate or an estate administration process, and this means that real estate is very often a burden on them, and they simply need the help. Inside of Probate Mastery, I teach you exactly where to source your leads, how to establish value, and offer your service in a way that quickly makes you, as the professional, your market's expert in the probate space. If you want to know a little bit more, go over to www.probatemastery.com. Hope to see you guys inside of the community. Thanks. Okay. What else do you guys have? Questions? Last week, it was like one question after another. 15 people lined up. A little bit more quiet this week. So do you guys have any other questions about your appointment strategies, making offers, your business strategy, deals that you're in? What do you guys have for me? Kristen, go for it.
Apparently, we have AI now that you raise your hand up and it sees you raised your hand up and it's supposed to put the hand up raise thing. So interesting. I have a hesitation about calling the personal representative when they currently live in the same house, the decedent. So it's just in their name. And I don't know what my hesitation is. It's like, yeah, are you selling your house? Because, he or she's dead now and you don't need this big house. I don't know what to say and I don't want to come across that way.
Yeah.
So I kind of don't call them because I don't, when it's, a friend or a family member, they live out of state. Hey, what are you doing? This kind of thing. I'm really good at that. But it's when they live, when the survivor is still around in the house.
Well, here's something that I want all of us to recognize. Extremely valid fear. Extremely. I feel the same thing. There's many times, and I have so many examples of this that I know it's on every single probate list that you have. You've got multiple situations where decedent and personal representative live in the same house, and it's because the decedent moved in with a family member or another family member moved in with the decedent. So we can't just automatically assume that it's a surviving spouse.
Right.
We also can't assume that this was a sudden shock that they haven't already emotionally processed. People sometimes are sick for years and years and years, and it's kind of a relief to the surviving spouse. And in a way, I'm not saying that there's not emotion, but it's been processed to a large degree. And for us to just assume that it was this unexpected thing that they just went through and they haven't emotionally processed it, so we're not going to call, it's not really doing them a service or ourselves a service. However, sometimes it's a surviving spouse and it was a complete shock, and we're going in a little bit blind into that conversation. So the best advice that I could give you is not to call about the house. Not to call about the house. Kristen, my name is Bruce Hill. I operate State Aid Network here in Wake County. I think that you're the representative for the estate of Jane Smith. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you think I could tell you what I called for?
I'm assuming it has to be about the probate case because you're calling me out of the blue.
Yeah. So Kristen, basically, I've got this independent organization here in the area, and the short and sweet of it is we kind of provide almost like a concierge service. It's really there to provide resources and some guidance for different stages of probate. I don't want to presume to know what your situation is. Did you guys just apply for probate here in the last couple of weeks, or have you been kind of in probate for maybe a month or two?
Since about a month or so. It's been since November, yeah.
Yeah. And did you hire an attorney, or are you kind of working through it independently?
I'm working through it independently.
Independently? Okay. A lot of people that are a month in working through it independently, they usually have an estate that's not overly complex. Is there anything that's kind of confusing in the process now, or do you think you've got a pretty good handle on it?
Well, I'm still waiting for my letter of testamentary so I can get rid of some of the things in the house. There's a lot of stuff here that we don't need anymore. Don't know where to send it. Goodwill won't come and get it because it's too old. Things
Is
like
it donation? Are they donation items, or do you think there's some value that you might sell some things?
Well, some of the items might be, it depends on the market, right? The internet's kind of ruined a lot of the vintage shopping thing, and the younger kids don't They don't want grandma's china. And yeah, so it's kind of like that.
So I'm going to stop you, Kristen. I love when conversations go like this, but this is not normal. Okay. And it
Oh,
happens.
it
It
is for me.
happens.
Okay.
Okay. It happens. It absolutely happens. I want to prepare for the more normal. I have things handled. I want everyone to
Oh,
be prepared for the person that says what Kristen just said. You guys need to be able to handle that because people need help and they have questions and they open up and they talk. That absolutely happens. But at least half of the conversations that you get to the stage that I just got to say, yeah, no, I think we have things handled. And then I would say, hey, totally understand. I imagine you probably have most of the bases covered for now. What I want to do is send you just a little package. It's got some resources in it that might come in useful later in probate. And if anything ever comes up, I want you to keep my number and give me a call. Does that work for you?
that would be most helpful. Yes.
Okay. And I noticed on the file that 123 Main Street was the address listed. Is that your house or was that Mrs. Smith's house?
It's Mrs. Smith's house.
Okay, okay. Are you or another family member maybe living there, check the box every day, or do you live somewhere else?
Well, I moved in here to help her. She was my mother.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. So you're there now?
Correct.
Yeah. Are you gonna move back home later?
That was the original plan. Yes.
Okay, okay, got it. Um, well, a lot of people are kind of. I'll send the package there, by the way. A lot of people that I talk to usually ask me what we're even sending in the package. Do you think I could share that with you?
Most certainly.
Okay, so it really covers like three things. So the first component that I send out is kind of how-to guides, specifically that pick up with how to do things where maybe your attorney's not covering those aspects.
Okay.
I know you're not working with an attorney, so there's going to be some things in there that'll help with the legal process as well. Next is I try to include several connections to different professionals that are sometimes useful as you move through probate, accountants and landscapers and estate sale companies and realtors and all the people that some families need. And then lastly, we've got details on dealing with assets. So assets like what to keep, what to sell. It could be cars or houses or furniture or really anything. For example, you mentioned that 123 Main Street was your mom's place. Have you guys decided which assets like that you might keep, or is it just a little too early to tell what you're going to sell and keep?
Yeah. Well, the house will eventually go on the market.
Okay. Is
I
that,
just don't know when yet.
yeah, probably dealing with other things for the time being.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. If you were to sell, do you think maybe I might be able to bring you an offer?
Certainly.
Okay. I know that's kind of a weird change of topics. Do you think I could tell you why I ask?
Yes. Go ahead. Ask me.
Okay, so there's two different hats that I wear. So I mentioned I help with the probate process. I also own a real estate brokerage. So a lot of times if there's a family that has a house that does get sold, I can usually bring a pretty good offer. But the first thing, those two things are unrelated. So I want to help with any of the probate questions that you might have, but I also want to be available if there's a house to sell. Okay, make sense?
Very good. Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send this package out. Is it okay if I put a ballpark estimate of what you might be looking for in the package, like for the house value?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. It's just going to be a ballpark. Since you're around, is there a time in the next maybe week, 2 weeks where maybe I could stop by 10 minutes, put a face with a name, see the house for a couple of minutes?
There's a lot going on right now. Definitely not this next week. How about the week after?
The week after? Yeah, you want to do end of the week, weekend?
End of the week would be
End of the week?
more, yeah.
How about Friday afternoon? I don't know if you're working or not. Would that work?
How about like 9 or 10 in the morning on Friday?
Perfect. Perfect.
Great. And your name again was?
Bruce. Okay.
There you go.
All right. So Kristen originally started telling me all these things that she needed, but then we went back and we got Kristen to say, I have everything handled.
Hmm.
So for a lead to say, I have everything handled and then agree to meet with me in 2 weeks on Friday at 10 o'clock, would that be a good outcome? It'd be
Very
a
much so.
phenomenal outcome.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So um, I did not, and we kind of veered off because we ended up in the scenario where this was your mom. We were originally on this is a surviving spouse. I did
Oh,
not
sorry.
go into the conversation talking about the house. I went into the conversation talking about help with probate. Theoretically, it should have broken down a ton of walls, because I'm not there to push the house. All right. Now, there's strategy and technique and psychology behind practically every piece of that conversation that I just had. I've memorized a really good outline and structure of a call. So I wasn't just coming up with this stuff off the top of my head. It's not because I'm a phenomenal conversationalist. You put me in a conversation about something that I haven't practiced, and I'm an idiot. But I've practiced this. Okay. So hopefully that helps. Don't be afraid of calling the potential surviving spouse, because you shouldn't necessarily be there to say, "Hey, I want to buy the house that your loved one just died in." That's not what we're there to say. All right. Okay, good. Hey, Michael, what's up?
Yeah, I was just saying that I've been watching the videos for the past few days, so it's good to be live. I have a question regarding our situation, which is this is Delia. She's actually the real estate agent,
Okay.
and we do have rental properties and Airbnb, but we're not currently buying. We started a probate campaign around October. So we've done like kind of 2 rounds of getting leads and sending out mailers, and we just kind of been figuring it out on our own, and come to the conclusion that I want to do the calls, and then she will handle everything, I guess from listing appointment on. So I'm trying to figure out how to start these conversations and where the right handoff is. Like, what's the approach in that kind of situation?
Yeah. So the right handoff, there's a huge middle area. So what you just described is two out of the three roles in the probate prospecting process. So role number one is who's initiating the relationship. Role number three is who's closing the relationship with the real estate deal. Okay. Role number two in the middle is who's carrying the relationship. So who carries it from month 1 through month 6 when they're ready to sell. And I'm not saying that that's when they're ready to sell. It might be month 2 and it might be month 12. I don't know. But there's a period of time there where someone needs to be nurturing this lead along. Now, for me, for our partners, both partner and success manager are nurturing the lead. So you could wear the hat of like what I would call a success manager, and that's the person that's helping the agent nurture the lead. Hey, did you get the package we sent? Last time we talked, you said this. Is there anything? Is anything changed? Hey, I'm about to send you this. How are things going? Is there anything I could help you with? So someone needs to be available in there nurturing that lead. And normally what we do is we have someone on operations doing that alongside of the agent or investor. So both in my business, it's both operations and the agent investor doing that. And they're just kind of seesawing, and they're presenting themselves as we're part of the same organization, we're colleagues, we're partners, and if one person just really goes deep and develops a lot of rapport, then that lead is that person's to carry the relationship forward until it's ready for a deal. And until that point, I would probably both of you be calling and touching base. I'm always looking when I call, I'm always looking for an excuse to call to do the follow up. So your initial call is really just setting up your next interaction. So that's all it is. And that next interaction is not always and not normally an appointment. It's not
Okay.
always or even not normally a time to talk about real estate, because the majority of people say they don't know what they're going to do with the house yet. It's too early to tell. Are they lying? It is possible that they're lying. It's more likely when they say, yeah, we haven't decided on that yet. It's more likely that it's a need, but they've got so many other things on their plate that they're not even thinking about that need. So someone needs to keep that relationship going until they think about that need. So for me, I'm just looking for excuses. So anytime I interact with someone, I'm looking for some information that'll give me an excuse to call the next time. So my first excuse to call the next time is after my first marketing piece or mailer has gone out after the conversation. I always send a note or a package or a letter or something after my first conversation. That gives me an excuse to call next week and ask if they got it. Then, depending on how much information and what their timing was in any call, I will usually call again inside of 45 days at the most. 45 days is the furthest away that I'm going to call anyone. If I go 50 days, they're going to forget me. Okay, so 21, 30 days, 45 days, all those are okay. And it depends a lot on what they told me the first time. So let's pretend someone told me or I baited them. That's what I'm really doing most of the time, is I'm baiting them into giving me a time frame for their next step. So let's pretend we talked about the house and they go, yeah, we might sell, but we really don't know. And I go, yeah, I imagine you're probably a month or two away, aren't you? And they say, yeah. Why did they say I'm a month or two away? Because I said it. They just agreed. Okay. And then in 45 days, I call and say, hey, last time we talked, you said it probably wouldn't be till mid-January that you guys were thinking about the house. Wanted to see if that was still the case or if things have changed. And they go, oh, we really hadn't talked about it. Oh, yeah, you guys are probably still at least a month and a half out, aren't you? And they go, yeah. I said it, they agreed. And then in a month, I can go, hey, last time we talked, you guys said that you probably wouldn't be thinking about the house until mid to late February. Is that still the case, or have things changed? Okay, so I'm creating opportunities. I'm creating the excuse for the next communication attempt by generally getting them to give me some kind of timeline, or I'll propose a timeline and they agree. And then I just do that and I nurture them along and I make sure that I'm giving them serious value in the meantime. It's not just call. I want to send them good value, things that they can use in the form of email or mail or videos or something that they can actually use and begin to recognize me. And if you are in touch with them frequently enough, giving them enough value, eventually they are absolutely going to enter that window when the real estate becomes the most important thing to deal with in their life. They will get there. I don't know when it's going to be. It might be 13 months from now. When that happens, they're going to go to the person that's the most relevant and most valuable in their life. If you are the most valuable person in their life in month 1, but they don't make that decision until month 9, they might have met a realtor in church yesterday. Who are they going to call? The person that they just met. So make sure that you continue that polite, delicate touch with good value in between. That middle part is where your business is going to actually come from. You're going to get a few people that you talk to on day 1 that are ready to go, maybe 5% that are ready to go. You're going to get a whole lot of people that you talk to on day 1 that if you nurture them properly are going to be ready to go in a half a year.
So do you think would it be unprofessional to start out the call as saying, like, hey, this is Mike from XYZ Estates. When you get to the part about, could I say, like, my wife and I run an independent organization, or is that not? Just to frame it, that there's like a partnership
Phenomenal.
From the beginning. And then when situations arise, I would either be making an excuse to make the next call or an excuse to pass them off.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you've got such a great relationship and you know that you're remembered, you should keep it. Keep the conversation. You be the person. But if you're like, I'm not sure if they're going to remember me, an excuse for your wife would be, and I can't remember your name, forgive me.
Julia.
Okay, so an excuse would be to say, hey, yesterday you spoke with my partner, my husband Michael, about such and such. I wanted to put a voice with a name, and maybe you catch them at a different time. Maybe they're partial to a woman, maybe who knows, and you have that deeper conversation. Maybe not, but there's times when it might be worth it for you to call and say, you spoke with my partner, my husband Michael, and this is and I wanted to put a voice with a name. And they go, oh yeah, I'm glad you called me back. I was super busy yesterday. What is it you guys do again? I mean, I'm just trying to put myself in the stand, okay? And this is a lot of people get upset when I use this example. I grew up in the country in the mountains, and everybody there hunts. So everybody there hunts. For those of you that hate hunters, I don't hunt now. I don't really love it, but I don't dislike it either. So all my family and all my past friends and everyone hunt, and they say the most successful hunters have their boots in the stand more often than others. And I was never a successful hunter when I was hunting in my teens. Never. Why? Because I didn't go out in the cold stand very often. I'd sleep in, and I would have my boots in the stand about half of the time as the successful people. I wasn't successful. I like my comfort a little bit too much. So boots in the stand. And what are boots in the stand in our case? Boots in the stand are conversations. You put yourself in the situation to have a decent conversation. Now, it also means that some conversations aren't great, but the more interactions you have, the higher likelihood it is that you're going to have a good conversation. So Michael has a conversation today. Delia, maybe you have one tomorrow with the same person. Okay. And then you reach out in a week when they get something in the mail from you. You reach out in a month to say, hey, you said this last time. You're just looking for who's going to build that solid rapport first. And once that happens, then it's kind of your person to talk to at that point.
Sense. Thank you.
Good. Absolutely. Hey, Lou, what do we got?
Hey, Bruce. Yeah, we have a question from Gary in the chat. It says, I'm struggling with how to answer the question, what's in it for you? When I do
Ah,
get the PR on the phone and explain that I assist PRs through the administrative process of probate. So what do you say to that?
absolutely. One of my favorite questions of all time. And I love that question from executors so much when it comes up at the appropriate time. And I'm going to tell you that normally, once they vocalize it, it is more an objection than I want it to be. So once they've vocalized it, the skepticism is built up a lot, and there's a lot of tension involved. So what I might do is go, hey, I was just talking to someone a couple of weeks ago, and they asked what was in it for me. Do you mind if I share that with you? I beat them to the punch. And if I can beat them to the punch, one of two things happens. Number one is if their tension and their skepticism was building up, I stop it before it's built up too much. Number two is if they weren't thinking what's in it for me, now they are. If I told you don't think about a pink elephant in the corner of the room, what are you going to be thinking about? Okay. So I'll say, I was just talking to someone a week ago about this, and they just wanted to know what was in it for me. And I realized I hadn't done a good job of answering that. Do you mind if I share that with you? So you guys tell me what's in it for you. Just chat that answer in. What's in it for you? Just short and simple answer. It's pretty easy. What's in it for you? Nobody's chatting in. Maybe I just haven't given you guys enough time to get to your keyboards. What's in it for you? What are we? We're real estate professionals. What do we want? We want the real estate deal. Okay. So the person says, yeah, you can tell me what's in it for you. Again, I would prefer they don't have to ask the question, that I get to it before they do. And they say, yeah, no, yeah, what's in it for you? So first off, I've been through probate myself. If you haven't been through probate, don't lie. So I would say I've been through probate myself with my family. I've also been through it with countless clients and families that I've worked with, and I know how complicated it can be. So I always want to lead and give free value that helps with the probate process, just because I know a lot of people just need it. Now, in addition to helping with probate, I actually wear another hat. I wear the hat of a real estate broker. I have a real estate team, or I'm a licensed realtor, or I'm an investor, or whatever you are in the area. And I know that a lot of times later in probate, selling real estate becomes a priority to people. And the only thing I would ask is not when that happens, but if that happens, that I might be able to bring you an offer. And I know we haven't talked about that. I don't know if you're selling. If you don't sell a house, I still want to give you all the resources and not ask anything in return. Have you guys thought about what you're going to do with the real estate yet, or is it too early to tell? Okay. So I want to make it very clear that I want to bring an offer if they sell, but I don't expect my offer to help with probate is not contingent on them having to sell me a house or list a house with me. That the help is there regardless, but I would like to bring an offer if selling is something that they want to do. And generally, they are completely open and receptive to that, and they don't get upset.
So you have this package of information that you send out. Obviously, you've standardized it. So you can't know an accountant or a specific painter or any of those specific details. So you just give them sort of a generic list of the things that you can help them with, and then put together the specifics when they ask for them.
Yes, to a degree. And you guys forgive me for looking. My mic might be going in and out. I'm hoping that I have a handy package here with some things that I've been trying to put into the probate mastery course. I'll just give you. I'll pull it up on my screen since I don't have a physical copy. So I've got a vendor list that I can send out. I've got a vendor list. I also have a kind of a list that's meant to go on into an addendum to a letter that says, here are the categories of services that I can coordinate for you without specific vendors. That's what I would go to until I had a full vendor booklet or list. Once I have a full vendor booklet or list, that's what I'm sending out. And I'm just gonna give you guys a couple of examples here.
Because obviously, different areas of the county would be different people in some area, some things.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, that's true. If you don't want to put specific vendors on your list, that's totally fine. But here's an example of a vendor list that I send, and this isn't all my vendors. Phil, I'm assuming if Phil, you're here. I even have you on here. All right. Phil's one of our agents, investors, and provides bond insurance, and he comes to these calls. I saw him a little bit ago. I'm not sure if you're still here. So this is a vendor list that I send out. It's 2 pages long, and notice that I am the vendor for the real estate need. And I'm actually also the vendor for the car buyers. My business is not buying cars. My business is having face-to-face interactions with people. And sometimes they sell the car first. And so I want to meet them for anything that they need first. So I don't put websites and phone numbers on here. I have them call me for these needs. So this is an example of a vendor brochure that we would have. This is a buddy of mine this is a little booklet with his full vendor list. So I kind of like, these are substantial, and most people never get this far into designing things like this. So if you don't, keep it generic, just kind of an addendum to your letters, where you can just say, hey, here's some examples of services that I coordinate. If you want any of these, call this number and it comes to you. If you actually get your vendors together and want them on a brochure or booklet, do that.
Thank you.
Yep. And one of the things that I noticed is vendors are notoriously slow about sending you their bios and their logos and things. So I built mine on AI. Just had AI go chase down their logos and write me a little short bio for each one of them. And then I told the vendors, just because they're bad about providing those, because otherwise I might be trying to put my vendor list or booklet together for 3 years waiting on vendors to send me stuff. I don't want to do that. So I just put it together and then I show it to them and say, hey, I'm sending this out. If you want me to change any language, let me know. And everyone that I show it to, they're like, oh, no, that looks good. Thanks so much. All right. Okay, we are at 3 o'clock. If anyone has any last second questions, speak now or forever hold your peace until next week when we come back at 2 o'clock next Tuesday for the call. If you're listening after the fact, 2 o'clock Eastern time is when we do this every single week. Do I have any last minute questions before we go though? Check in chat to make sure. Okay, I don't see anything. If anyone did have a question that you chatted in and I missed, I apologize. It was not intentional. All right. Thank you guys for being here and see everybody next week.
Thank you, Bruce.
Thanks.